Does anyone wait until December? How many of you wait to take your winter coat out until you go outside and you forget it one day and then you're like, oh crap, I need that. Yeah, that's my husband. All right, so inductive reasoning uses those patterns. When do we need to start doing things? Deductive, we have that prefix D, which kind of means the other part of it. We have inductive and deductive, so they kind of go together, two parts. Deductive reasoning is going to use rules, laws, or properties. Rules, laws, or properties. And we're going to really use deductive reasoning next chapter in 2B to show proofs. We're going to go through and show why we can start with one thing and end with the other. And we're going to show it with rules and laws and properties. But right now there's a lot of rules that you are all abiding by in our school, in our state, in this world. Like, what's one rule of school? If you, want to go to the bathroom, you have to make a pass. If you want to go to the bathroom, you must make a pass. So if I see you in the hallway in a different period, I'm walking in the hallway during my prep, period 5. Along comes Hamza. I'm like, hey Hamza, how's it going? He's like, good. I'm just on my way to the bathroom. I'll be like, oh cool, you must have your pass, right? Because that's our rule. Does that make sense? Yeah? So deductive reasoning. If you want to go to the bathroom, you must make a pass. If you go 95 miles per hour in a school zone, you're probably going to get arrested and you probably go past that ticket, right? You just go to arrested because there's kids around and you could have really endangered them. Okay? So, next up we have a law. We're going to do 2 laws today. We have our law of detachment and a law of syllogism. And these are going to go with our if-then statements today. Okay? Or in this chapter. So our law of detachment, we're going to be given a if-then statement. If A happens, then B happens. Okay, and we know for a fact that A happened. It already happened. For example, when we finish a chapter, we're on our last lesson. What happens after our last lesson of a chapter? We have a 1-pager and a test. I'm telling you right now, this is the last lesson of this chapter. We know that for a fact. What's going to happen next? A 1-pager and a test. So when's your test going to be? Next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is your test. All right. Woo, test.
Why are you in makeup so early in the week?
So early, because I just want to know. I wake up every day and I'm like, how can I make Zayton miserable? I know. I'll put a test on Tuesday. Because Wednesday is a weird schedule.
This is not a test on Monday.
Exactly. All right, if we know A happened, that tells us that we know that B will happen. Okay, we can conclude that B will happen. It might not have happened yet, but it will happen following that A. So I'm going to use yellow and blue for this one. If you want to use some colors, I'm going to color code my A as yellow and my B as blue. Okay, this would be a good day to use highlighters if you'd like to. Apply. Okay, we know A happened. That's in the past, or it's happening as you see it. We're finishing this last lesson as you're here. Put away the phone. As A happened, we know that B either happened right after or that it's going to happen. It'll happen really soon. All right, so for this first example, we have two examples that are going to go with that law of detachment. What does it mean to be detached? Yeah, to be separate from something. So if you detach your phone charger, you detach your phone, what does that mean? Yeah, it's no longer charging, it's unplugged. So when we detach, we're taking this if A, then B, and we're breaking them apart. We're saying, okay, now A happened, so we know that B happens kind of separately, but we're looking at them individually as different parts. All right, so in this first one, it says, if Miss Morrell wakes up late, which I did today, then she is cranky. Trying real hard not to be cranky. I'm feeling much better by period 4. Abdi notices Miss Morrell is cranky, and he assumes she woke up late. So we have to decide, is this valid? Can he assume that? Or is it invalid? Is that not how this law works? So we're going to be given our A, B. Let's take a look at that first. What's our first if-then statement? Okay, so if I wake up late, that's my A. What is that leading to? Being cranky. Miss Morrell, you're never cranky. You must never wake up late. Aw. Thanks, guys. You're too sweet. Alright, so Abdi notices Miss Morrell is cranky. So is he starting with a hypothesis, or is he starting with a conclusion? Good, he's starting with the second part. He's starting with the cranky part. And then because he sees that Miss Morrell is cranky, he's saying she woke up late. He's going backwards. When I look at our law of detachment, we have to be moving in the same direction. We aren't doing our converse. We aren't flipping it at all. We're going in that forward direction. So this is our backwards direction. And if you notice that I'm cranky, is the only reason that I might be cranky because I'm late? No. Why else might I be cranky? Stuck in traffic, something happens. I'm hungry. Okay. Yeah, I forgot my energy drink. I forgot my energy drink today. Okay, so we cannot do backwards direction. No backwards direction. It doesn't work with law of detachment. We can only work forward. So is his assumption that I woke up late? It might be right. Is it for sure right? No. So do we use that word valid or invalid? Good. Invalid means it's wrong. It doesn't always work. Invalid. And if you want a counterexample for an invalid, what might be another reason I'm cranky? She might be hungry. I should have written that before I boxed it, but that's okay.
In other words, if it's invalid, usually it's because there's another reason that you might not know.
Okay.
And you can't just make assumptions.
Right.
Moral of the story.
However, you can make an assumption. If I come in and I'm like, oh my god, I woke up so late today. Then you could say, okay, she's probably going to be cranky today. Because you know that that's a rule that we're following. Good. All right, let's bring it to some geometry here. If two angles are vertical, what is vertical angles again? Or what are vertical angles? Good, across from each other. Awesome. Vertical angles, then they are congruent. What's congruent mean? Same length or same measure because it's an angle. Destiny notices angle A and angle B are vertical, and she assumes that angle A is congruent to angle B. So before we get to Destiny, her whole situation that's happening, let's look back at what we're given. What's our original statement telling us? What's our hypothesis?
Triangles and vertical.
Good. If they have vertical angles, that leads us to congruent. And I'm going to just do my symbol. If you don't know what that symbol means yet, you might want to write out that word congruent or memorize that means congruent. Okay, so vertical leads to congruent. So now we're watching this reality show about Destiny. Destiny goes to geometry class. It's interviewing her. She's in her confessional. She's like, I noticed those angles were vertical, so I knew that they were congruent. Is she right or is she wrong? Did she notice the hypothesis first or the conclusion? She started with the hypothesis. So did she go then to the conclusion? Yeah, she said they were congruent. So this is our forward direction. She started with vertical and she went to the congruent. It was a forward direction. In our storytelling, if the first part happens, we know that that will lead to the second part. So is this valid? She's right. Or is it invalid? There could have been a different option. Valid. It's right. She went in that forward direction, so it's valid. And we don't need a reason. Remember, it's just like that truth value. When you say true, we don't have to justify it. We just know it's always true.
Is the statement correct?
Yeah, statement's correct.
Like all vertical angles are congruent?
Yep. All right. We have one more law for today. And this one is a crazy law. It's called law of syllogism. I don't know why they named it law of syllogism. Somebody could probably Google that, figure it out for us. Anyone? No?
Okay.
We're just going to accept it? Is it weird? You got it?
Yeah.
Why? Where does that come from? I don't know. Or what does it mean outside of math? Syllogism. Oh, I don't know. I just don't know why it's called law of syllogism. Zayton's looking it up for us on Google.
An instance of a form of reasoning in which a conclusion is drawn.
It's a long definition.
Yeah.
All right, so pretty much this is it stands for a way to reason or a way to say something happens, make a conclusion. So our law of syllogism is what that if you give a mouse a cookie was really about. Okay? If we're given a couple of things here. If we know that M and then N, that's one statement. If M happens, then N happens. Okay, and just like that, if you give a mouse cookie, we turn the page, and on the next page, it starts up with N again. If N happens, then, and we're going to jump to the letter P, because O makes it look weird. Then P happens. Alright, I'm going to color code. I'm going to start with my yellow for my first part, just like we did with the law of detachment. If M happens, now I'm going to switch it up and go to red here. Then N. If N happens, so we're using that same color, it matches.
Are we gluing this in the...
We will, yep, in our notebooks. Then P, and I'm going to do blue for P. All right, what we can conclude based on those two sentences, if M leads to N, and N leads to P, we can kind of go from beginning to end because those middle parts match up. It's like that domino effect. Eventually will lead to what? So if we start with M, in this story, where is it eventually going to lead us? P. So we can skip over that N because that N matches in both parts, where it picks up right where it left off. It was a conclusion, and now it comes back as a hypothesis, so it's connected. All right, we're going to try and come up with our own conclusions on these last two, or see if we can, if they follow the law of syllogism. So it starts off with, if Mr. Kwan has a good day at school, then he will give his cat a treat. Do you guys remember that Mr. Kwan has a cat? Anyone remember what color? Black, good. And what was the cat's name? Cosmo, right? Boy or girl? Boy, Cosmo. How's he doing? Is he sad that you're not home all summer? Is he sad that you're not home all the time anymore?
This said that no one's at the meeting right now.
Makes sense. All right, so if Mr. Kwan has a good day at school, then he'll give his cat a treat. If Mr. Kwan's cat has a treat, then they will be pumped. I couldn't remember if it was a boy or girl, so I used they. Okay? But then the cat will be pumped. So let's color code it. What is my first hypothesis? Where does this story start? Good. Mr. Kwan has a good day. I'm going to do that yellow just like it does with that first part. Then what happens? What's the next part of our story? Oh, that's so nice. He gives his cat a treat when he has a good day. Okay, that's our first sentence, our first page of that story. We flip the page, we go to the next part. What's the next page start with? Good, Mr. Kwan's cat has a treat. Okay, does that match the one before? Yeah, so what color should I make mine? Good, I'm going to make it red, the same color because it matches. Okay, Mr. Kwan's cat is eating a treat and it is super pumped. And by pumped, it was supposed to be like excited. I don't know. Pumped! Yeah! No? What?
I hate that bell.
Me too.
Reminds me of when I used to leave.
I know, isn't it so nice? All right. Does this follow our law of syllogism? If M, then N, and then we pick up right at that N. If N, then P.
Yep.
Does our second sentence have that hypothesis that matches the conclusion of the first? It sure does. All right, so what can we conclude? How could I write a new sentence that makes this like, okay, oh my gosh, you're talking so much. Get to the point. If, what's the first part of the story? M, but what is our M here? Good. Mr. Kwan has a good day at school. Okay, now get to the point. Don't tell me the in-between. Just tell me the story. What's happening? Then what happens? Then his cat will be pumped. I really like how Kivanti, I say your name different every time. Kivanti. Was I? Kivanti. Okay. His cat will be pumped. I liked how he said his cat, not just picking up with they will be pumped. If we wrote Mr. Kwan had a good day at school, then they will be pumped. Do we know who they're talking about with they? No. So to restate it as his cat was really important in this sentence. All right, so I'm going to color code again just to make sure that we have it. If Mr. Kwan has a good day at school, so that was our yellow, or my yellow, whatever color you used. Thank you. And how does it end? This cat will be pumped, which I used blue as my last color, so use whatever color you use last. All right, last one, and then we'll glue this in, and we have a quick practice today. All right, if you study for the test, then you'll receive a high grade. If you do the practice assignments, then you will receive a high grade. Okay, so I'm going to start with that first sentence. We'll break it apart. So what's my hypothesis of the first sentence? Okay, you study for the test. Then what happens? Good, you'll receive a high grade. Alright, so now as I color code my next one, I want to see if it follows a pattern or if I can reuse some colors. Okay, it starts now with if you do the practice assignments. Can I do that yellow, red, or does that need to be a different color? Different color, it doesn't match. So you do the practice assignments. You will receive a high grade. So is that yellow, red, blue, or a different color? Good, it matched. It's the red. It matched the same conclusion. Thanks. All right, so does this follow our law of syllogism? Does it pick up right on the next page, right where we left off? No, it's almost like it went to a whole new chapter and it's starting over. It's saying, okay, in this first chapter, Gabe studied for his test. He got a great grade. And we go to chapter 2. In chapter 2 this time, Gabe did his practice assignments and he got a good grade. So is it like that storytelling where we can say you studied for the test, then that means you did the practice assignments? No, maybe. They might be connected, but they're separate here. So can we come up with a valid conclusion? Can we come up with a new statement? No. So in this one we say no and we use that word valid. Conclusion. Since there wasn't a conclusion made, we can't say invalid. What we're saying is we cannot make a conclusion. There's no valid conclusion that goes with this. There's not a new statement we can make based on that information. We'd have to gather more information. All right, we're going to pass out glue. And as we pass out that glue, remember these are called glue dabbers. So if it's called glue dabber, does that mean you should squeeze the glue